From Inventus HQ. Thanks for those who joined us on our last live post. Thanks for all the feedback, etc. So just to recap on what we went through during that live session, we spoke about taking your time to find an agent. So tonight I wanted to sort of follow on from that. So you found yourself an agent, you spent time getting to know them, as we discussed. And now you've found a club, so you've signed with a club and everything's all hunky-dory. So this is the two things I want to talk about tonight is the Australian conditioning gap, so the gap between New Zealand development and Australian youth development. So the reason I want to talk about that is because that essentially is, as a youth player here in New Zealand, that's your competition. Those players over there that are developing at the same age. So let's say that you're 16 and you've signed with an NRL club. We're going to look at the differences between the 16-year-olds developing between 16 and 18 in Australia and how our boys are developing over here. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about, and then after that I want to talk about building life skills. So it's sort of based around the same subject, that you need to be building life skills at the same time as focusing on your rugby league. So so we just go back to the conditioning gap. So you've signed. What's currently happening is boys are signing at 15 years old. They're very happy. Everyone's stoked with the outcome that they've signed a development contract with an NRL club. Now the next step in the next 2 years is for them to get into a stage where they become a rookie for a club. So the rookie is someone that would enter into an NRL team at the bottom end. So what's happening at the moment is boys are signing at that 15, 16 mark, and then they're left to basically carry on playing down here. There may be an odd camp that you can attend with that NRL club. Some clubs do it very well, some clubs that can be a bit loose on that kind of thing, but essentially you're left down here for two years with little touches with those clubs. But the biggest issue that we have is that the club will come back down at 17, turning 18 and say to your agent or say to you and your parents, hey, we're looking at now how you've improved, and we need to see that you're going to be able to play NRL. So you think about the difference between being a 15, 16-year-old and now this next period where they're coming down and saying, can he play NRL? And 9 times out of 10, we're hearing stories around the club coming back and having a look at these players that they signed 2 years ago and saying, oh, he's a bit slow, he's changed shape a bit, and he's just sort of lacking in X, Y, Z. So that they sort of list those things out. And the players are now dealing with a bit of rejection because they're saying, well, okay, you're not going to take me, or you are going to take me. Now, it doesn't always happen that they're not going to take you a little bit further, but the problem is that they may take you a little bit further because they want to see more, but you're already going to be 2 years behind what they've got sitting in their local backyard. So that's what they come down here when they have to make a decision to spend some real money, is they come down and they say, do we have that in our backyard? If so, then we're probably better prepared to spend the money on the person in our backyard. But if you're a Kiwi kid and you've really developed really well and they don't have what you are over in Australia, then you're obviously going to push forward a little bit more. But the biggest problem that we've got, and what the point that I'm trying to get at, is from that 15, 16 to 18 bracket, our boys aren't training properly. So it's as simple as that. Your 16 to 18-year-old boys over in Australia are all lifting. So they're lifting weights. They're going to an Olympic weightlifting gym to train. And they're also conditioning at a level that's is far greater than what we're doing here. So they're conditioning in a higher intensity level. They're not just going to training twice a week like most of our boys are down here. They're also doing a hell of a lot of flexibility, so they're doing flexibility training, they're doing stability training, and they're also getting speed coach. So already there's 3 or 4 things there that are massive to making you an NRL player. But if you've just sat here at the ages of 15 or 16 and done nothing about it until there's a decision to be made, you're going to struggle. There's also kicking coaches over there that will teach their players from that well before 15, but that 15 age onwards, they're teaching them how to kick with length, with directional kicking, so accuracy. So when you get over there, so let's say you've been lucky enough to get over there, you're already going to be behind the 8 ball if you haven't actually done that training yourself. Okay, so the biggest piece of advice I'm giving on that part is that you need to get yourself into a gym. You need to be training properly. So you don't have to go to a gym, any one of the flash gyms around to get any beach muscles. You need to actually get very strong. And to get strong, you need to train all the main muscle groups. So the big muscle groups in your body to get strong core, strong legs, all the main muscle groups in your body need to be very strong. So you don't need to be going and doing any curls or anything like that. So I would suggest finding an Olympic weightlifting gym. They're real basic. They've got racks. They've got a real basic setup, but they can technically train you how to lift properly. Conditioning, basically that's just getting some game specific and intensive training, so training at a high intensity, and then flexibility and all those kind of things. Yoga is great, getting in and learning about flexibility. So the thing with flexibility is the best thing about it, or what it's for, is so you don't get injured. So when it will help speed as well. But if you're really flexible, you see in the NRL now players are actually getting bent in half and they still spring back up and play the ball. So that flexibility part's very important. And then the last bit, which I think, I know that the Australian youth are doing a lot more, is they're working on the mental performance side of it. So they're preparing themselves a lot better mentally for the vigours of a development path. So they're getting that mental health or mental performance stuff sorted. They're learning to talk to themselves positively, and they're gearing themselves up for the challenges that they have. So with all those sorts of things, if you think about, if you've just stayed here and done none of those things, and then the club comes back and says, okay, I've got to make a decision between this boy that in New Zealand and the boys that we've got in Australia, then you're going to make it tough for yourself. But even if you do get through, so let's say they go, hey, look, we just haven't got anything of his size. So you do get through, you're getting over there to embark on a really tough 2-year period. So a period where that's make or break for you. And you're already behind all of those guys. So it's not only just getting there is the challenge, but then once you've got there, you're going to have that ability to be able to kick on. So I've heard of clubs saying to me that they feel like a certain kid that's over there at 18 has got a lifting age of 16. So they've got to try and pile 2 years worth of strength training and weight training in an elite environment into a very short space of time. So you're already quite behind in that sense. So what happens then is, let's say either way, they come back and they say, look, no, we just haven't seen any improvement, so we're not going to take him through. So at 15 or 16, you're very happy with what was going on. You've started to, at times, boys can start to lax off the schoolwork. They start to lax off building good relationships with people. They start to not focus on any kind of employment opportunities, because at 15 or 16 they were signed to an NRL club and things were going to be perfect. What then arises is this rejection or mental health issues or confidence issues out of a boy that realistically is still thinking that this dream is going to happen. And as parents, I think this is our biggest concern, or I think most of the parents that speak to me are sort of worried about that mental health thing now. It's quite out there in the media and all those kind of things, and it is very important and very serious. And I think we can assist our boys with obviously getting them prepared mentally, but also giving themselves every chance to make that next step if that's the way they want to go, or that head. So that sort of leads me to that next part, which is, while this training's going on, so you're training, that's fine, you know, and those 2 years of development's going on, you need to be able to build life skills. So that's my second point for tonight, is around making sure that you still focus on life skills. So let's say you did train, you did all the correct training that you were supposed to be doing, and then you get to that next step. 3%, so the last numbers that were done, is that 3% of boys that get into an elite environment, so this development opportunity or contract that we're talking about, only 3% will kick on and make a life out of it, or play the average games, which is 74 games. So 74 games, I think I calculated to, let's say, 3 seasons. So let's say you were lucky enough to do that. It's only 3% of the boys that are in this development opportunity. So if you're the other 97% and you haven't focused on building life skills and doing any of those things that make you employable or make you a good person or a better person in the community, then you're going to fall off what we call a ledge, or what I call a ledge. So the risk is you signed at 15. And you just all you focused on was training and being a rugby league player, and then the end of the road came for you, whether it be injury, whether it be just weren't good enough, you just didn't train hard enough, or that's just the way it went. You were one of those 97% that just didn't make it. Then you potentially, what we call, you fall off the ledge. So you come out of that and you go, oh, what am I going to do now? So you look around, and obviously boys or friends of yours or family members of yours have all carried on with their lives. They haven't been just focusing on rugby league because they probably didn't get that initial opportunity like you did, and they've built skills around them, hopefully. And what I really want to stress to, and we do stress to all of our boys, but to all our followers, parents that are looking at embarking on this as a development opportunity, boys that are listening, life skills or building life skills is probably probably more important than the conditioning part, because the conditioning part will get you there. It will give you a better chance of getting there, but building life skills is going to get you through life. There's so many boys that we come across that don't have a driver's license even. So if we talk about some real basic focuses in terms of life skills, the first one would be good grades at school. So how many times we've heard a boy sign with an NRL club, and his schoolwork starts to decline, and his school reports are not as good as they used to be. And it's natural, because he's sitting there focusing on rugby league and he really wants to be an NRL player. And as parents, sometimes I think we can focus on that part too. So good grades at school is probably one of the things that we drive the most, and I drive consistently with our boys, because that's the first part of becoming employable, good grades. The second thing is, and it's a real simple one, is getting your driver's license. So at a very young age you can start to become employable with a lot of companies if you have a driver's license. So it's a real simple process, but again, a lot of boys, even at that 19-20 mark, still going through their license process, and we've had jobs and things ready to go for players, and the thing that's held them back is that driver's license part. So just to try and stop that ledge thing happening, where we're they're dropping off this rugby league journey and they're going, what do I do? Oh, I've got to go get my driver's license. We should already have those sort of things. It's going to soften that blow. It's going to obviously give you a good foundation underneath. Upskill in the areas that you are passionate about outside of rugby league. So a lot of the times we talk to our boys and we say, hey, what else do you like? PE, all those kind of things. I think we've got to try and focus on something right outside of that physical activity part or that physical education part, because being a football player or going along that journey, you're going to get some skills in that. But I think focusing on some things outside of that area will obviously, and upskilling yourself in those areas will allow you to become employable in different areas. So let's say you've come out of this at 18 and you're wanting to go and get a job. There's so many things that you can experience between those first couple of years and understand what you like and what you don't like, so that you can sort of upskill in those areas. So, and then I think the other thing, this is a real simple one, but a lot of boys don't do, is keep continuing to build and maintain good relationships with people. So it helps you to network, it helps you to have conversations with the older parent groups and all those kind of things, so that opportunities will arise as those conversations happen. You're also able to reach out to people at times when you are struggling. So let's say you're having some issues with the journey, and you feel like, well, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go. You're going to be able to have those relationships to fall back on, because we've just seen it with a lot of boys. They've gone real within, because they're training a lot and they're focusing on this rugby league path, because everyone's expecting that they're going to make it, so that extra pressure is on them, and so they're sort of going within and not really focusing on talking with people and maintaining relationships. So those were the main things that I wanted to discuss tonight. Obviously, is just to recap on that, is that development gap between Australia and New Zealand boys. There's just those real key points around training, and imagine that you're going to be going that's going to be a competition. If there's 1 or 2 positions available in a club, and you're going to come up against the kid that's been developing since he was 15, 16, and those conditioning areas, so all those body conditioning areas and strength areas. And for parents, I think the main thing is understanding that if this thing isn't going to work for them, or they're one of that 97% that don't make it, that they've got a real good solid foundation of life underneath them. So there's some stuff going on in their lives that means that they've got that to fall back on, and they've got a confidence about them that they're going to have other things in life going on if this rugby league thing doesn't work out. I think it's important to have that focus just as much, and more often than not, the boys that are actually got those things going on actually do progress a lot further than the boys that don't. So that confidence about, hey, if rugby league doesn't work out, that's okay, because I've got some other things on the go. You'll find that those kids will actually be a lot better, or go a lot further, or have a lot more around them, because of because they've got something else going on. So other than that, that's probably all we've got time for tonight. Appreciate all those people that have listened in today. Second video, so we've got a few more people listening in today. But yeah, just appreciate your ongoing support for all those that are on. Any questions or any feedback, please, good, bad or otherwise, send them through. Like I said on my last live post, we're going to we'll launch our podcast series in the next sort of 2 to 3 weeks, and that'll just be backing up, and it'll have conversations with various specialists in this area. So the things that I bring up in these live posts, we're going to bring in current players, we're going to bring in specialists within the industry to have a chat about these sides of rugby league that we're bringing up. So stay tuned and keep following, and thank you very much. Good night.